Hey everyone, I want to do a quick video explaining some of the items you see when you pull up a quote for a particular stock. For this example, let's use Apple because it's the largest company in the world. As you can see, just type in the ticker symbol for the stock. If you don't know the ticker symbol for a particular stock, you can look it up on Google or any other search engine. The term ticker symbol goes back to the days of old before computers when stock quotes came out on actual ticker tape. Every stock has a ticker symbol. Some of them are intuitive, kind of like this one. You might guess that that's Apple, but not all symbols are intuitive, which makes it handy to be able to Google them to look them up, because when I was a kid, you just had to know them. It wasn't so easy to find the ones that were not intuitive. Highlighted here, you'll see the price per share of stock. If it is normal market hours, between the hours of 9:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you'll see that number jumping all over the place as different investors buy and sell the stock. Right now, the market is closed, and so it's not bouncing around. But you'll also notice that there's an after hours quote. And so in addition to normal market hours, you also have hours before the market opens and after the market closes, called the pre-market and the aftermarket, where there is still trading done, although not nearly as much as there is during the regular session, but there is a limited amount of trading. And so you'll see a little bit of movement if those sessions are open as well. Here you'll see highlighted the number for market cap. What this reflects is if you take all of the shares of the stock and multiply it times the stock price, that's the total value of the entire company. So market cap just means the value of all of the shares that are out there. And so for Apple in particular, you can see it's worth over $2 trillion, the entire company. And as I've mentioned before, it is the largest company in the world. Here you'll see I have highlighted the days range. This just tells you how high or low the stock was from top to bottom in that particular day. You can also adjust the chart on the right to reflect a different time period. You can see that the default setting here is for the 1 day, so that shows you that day range that I had referred to, but you can also adjust it to show a different time period. Here you can see that we highlight the numbers next to the 52-week range. And as you might guess, this just is the high and the low for the last 52 weeks for the last 1 year period. And on the same token, you can adjust the chart to show that same time frame should you so choose. And that can be handy to see where the stock has been over the short term, but also over longer periods of time as well. Here you see highlighted the forward dividend and the yield. This represents the cash paid to shareholders by the company from the profits of the company. So not every company pays a dividend, but some companies do choose to pay out a portion of their profits out to the shareholders in the form of cash. The 92 cents represents 4 quarters of those payments. Dividend divided by stock price, that gives you the current dividend yield, and that is expressed as a percentage. And that can be helpful when you're comparing different types of investments or even different stocks. Some pay a dividend, some don't, and some pay a higher dividend than others for various reasons. Usually newer companies don't pay a dividend, and an older company, as it becomes more mature, they'll start to pay out dividends, and sometimes companies will raise their dividend or cut their dividend. Here you see highlighted the number next to EPS, which stands for earnings per share. So when you hear earnings, think profits. So, if you're thinking about profits, it's how much did we sell minus how much did it cost to sell it, and whatever's left over, that's how much money we made. So think of when you think of earnings per share, just think profits per share. The TTM next to that just stands for trailing 12 months. So it means the earnings per share over the last 12 months. Earnings are reported quarterly, just like dividends are usually paid quarterly. Each quarter, company will report their earnings and usually do a conference call and explain how things have been going. But in this case, this represents the TTM number, the trailing 12 months. So this is going to be the last 4 quarters of those earnings. The next number I'm going to highlight here is what's called the PE ratio. And this is an important number to help you understand what you're really paying for when you're buying a stock. And so PE stands for price divided by earnings. It's actually the stock price divided by the earnings per share. But what it really represents is how much you're paying for each $1 of earnings. So one stock might trade at a PE ratio of 27 like Apple, and another one might have a PE ratio of higher or lower, but it's telling you how much am I paying for each dollar of earnings. You'll often hear it called the multiple, because in essence, it represents how many years worth of earnings, how many years worth of the current year earnings are reflected in the stock price. So if you take that stock price and you divide it by the earnings per share, it tells you, okay, there's about 27 years worth of earnings reflected in that stock price. And so that can be helpful when you're comparing one stock to another. It tells you how expensive is it relative to those earnings. I hope this was helpful. We go into these topics and a lot more in the book. You can learn more at teachingkidstobustocks.com. Thanks so much.